One of the biggest sinkholes in any pipeline is when a lead says, "Send me an email," and poof, the deal is gone. Hey, I'm Kevin from Prospio. In this video, I'll walk you through the 3-step framework we use to keep the conversation alive on the call, plus 3 proven alternatives for different scenarios. I promise, if you apply these practical tips, you'll notice a difference instantly in your cold calls. So let's dive in. Before we dive into the responses, you need to understand why "send me an email" is so dangerous. When prospects say this, 90% of salespeople immediately cave in. They think that they're being helpful, but actually they're giving up control of the conversation. Here's the truth. "Send me an email" is rarely about wanting more information. It's most of the time a polite way to end the conversation saying, "I'm not interested." So once you understand this psychology, you can turn it around to keep the momentum going. Let me introduce you to the 3-step A.I.M framework we've developed to handle these types of objections. A stands for acknowledge. This is to reduce any tension and shows that you're actively listening. You never want to fight them on the objection, instead you want to agree with them. I has 2 parts. It stands for incentivize and isolate. You incentivize a benefit to disarm them, and then you isolate for the real reason behind their objection. M stands for maneuver. This is where you guide the conversation around their response to uncover any other pain points that they might be having. So no longer is it going to be a dead end when you hear an objection. Instead, it's going to be a 2-way open conversation. Here's exactly how that works. Prospect says, "Send me an email." Step 1, acknowledge. "Yeah, that's not a problem. I can send you that email right away." Step 2, incentivize. So just to ensure the email is relevant, and isolate, are you currently focused on getting new leads or improving your team's current closing rates? And let's say they respond with getting new leads. So step 3, maneuver. I see. So it sounds like getting new leads is important to your business. Are you just not getting enough qualified prospects at the moment? And you notice what happened? Instead of ending that call right there when you get that objection, you can now hear and learn more about their current situation and their actual challenges. So now you're having an actual conversation. And if you can address every single response around their pain points, you can actually go ahead and book that meeting if this is something you can solve. Let me give you another example. If they say, "Send me an email." Absolutely. I would love to send that over. But just so I don't waste your time with irrelevant information, is your main challenge finding better prospects, or are you getting leads but they're not converting as well? And again, this framework works because you're not pushing back on the request, you're making it better by ensuring it's relevant to them. Now let's go over 3 different scenarios where you might hear this objection on a cold call. So the first scenario is you sent them an email, but they haven't seen it, and yet they still give you this objection. And this is the perfect response for that. "Actually, Tom, I did send you an email last week, but never got a response, which is part of the reason why I'm calling you now. But no worries if it got buried in your inbox. I get a ton of emails as well. Quick question though, is your team currently focused on getting new clients at the moment, or are you focused on fulfilling existing client orders?" And this works because you've already acknowledged you've tried emailing them, you don't make them feel bad for not responding, and you redirected the focus of the conversation to a qualifying question. And after all of this, you're still keeping control of the conversation. The key to this response that moves the conversation forward is the phrase, "Quick question though," because it transitioned from them asking for that email to now answering where they're focused on in their business. So now this is going to give you more context to see where you can lead the conversation next. In this next scenario, you assume that they're interested, but they're busy and they just want to review some information later. And once you make enough cold calls, you can kind of tell whether or not a prospect is genuinely interested, and they're not always brush off objections. They can still be interested and give you this objection simply because maybe they're in the middle of something, or they just want something tangible in front of them to review. So here's how you can transition that objection into a meeting instead. And I call this the demo bridge response. So prospect says, "Send me an email." "Yeah, no problem at all. I can send you that email right away. And actually, I can do you one better. What we found working with clients to really understand how this solves their lead generation challenges, a quick 15-minute demo shows exactly how we can integrate it into their process. So would you be available tomorrow afternoon so I can show you and walk you through exactly how that works? And this response works because you agree to send them the email, which removes the resistance, and you position the demo as a value add, and it's not a sales pitch. And you're not asking for a whole lot, just 15 minutes of their time. And this phrase, I can do you one better, frames this demo meeting as a bonus and not a replacement for the email. And this is where most reps will say either, yeah, that works, and then you find a time slot and you send them that calendar invite, or they say, oh no, tomorrow afternoon doesn't work, and then you agree on a different time slot. But the most important thing is this. Once you confirm that time slot and you send them that email, get them to accept that meeting invite over the phone. So you could say something like, great, awesome, I just sent that email to, and then you insert whatever email address. Can you open that email and click yes to confirm the meeting? This is to ensure it shows up on your calendar and doesn't end up in spam. I can't tell you how many reps forget to do this and they don't follow up, they don't remind them to accept the meeting, and they just get ghosted. Their show rates are like under 40%. By getting them to accept the invite over the phone and sending a follow-up email within 24 hours of that meeting, your show rates are going to be above 80%. Because let's face it, what good is a filled calendar if no one shows up? And the last scenario is when the prospect is still on the fence. And this sounds like it could be a problem they're dealing with, but they're also indecisive and they need a little bit more convincing, which is fair because they haven't likely heard of you or your company and you're calling them out of the blue. And that trust factor isn't quite there yet, which is why you need to give value and make it worth their time. And here's what that looks like. I call this the value stack. Prospect says, send me an email. Of course I can send you an email, but just so you know, John, that email won't show you the actual system we use to bring in new customers. So how about a quick 15-minute call tomorrow at 2 p.m. where I can show you the free audit I've created specifically for your business, and I'll walk you through the parts that convert and show you exactly what has worked for our clients. And at the end, you can let me know if that makes sense, if this is something you'd like to implement. Would you be opposed to that? And this response works for a few reasons. First, you're agreeing that you're going to send them an email, so you're removing the resistance. Second, you mentioned that you're preparing a free custom audit for their business, which makes it more valuable than any written email. And lastly, it is very low commitment. You're asking for 15 minutes and you're ending it off with a no-based question like, would you be opposed to that? Most business owners are going to say, no, I'm not opposed to that, because in their minds, they're thinking, best case scenario, I show up to this meeting, I get a ton of value, I get a ton of insights, and I actually learn strategies, solutions, whatever I can use to help get rid of this problem or solve this issue. Worst case scenario, okay, I spent 15 minutes, but at least I still got some insights out of it. So just to recap, here's when you would use each response. I would use the A.I.M framework when the prospect is clearly brushing you off early in the call and you still have to qualify the actual needs. I would use the prior email method when you've already sent them emails in the past and this call is just more of a follow-up. I would use the demo bridge when you've had a good conversation and they're genuinely interested, but they want to review information first. And lastly, I would use the value stack response when you have something visual or something tailored that you can give them that's more compelling than a written email to earn their trust. The key here is to read the situation and tailor your responses to their level of interest in the context of your calls. So there you have it. That's my exact approach to respond to prospects when they ask for an email. Master these responses if you want to finally maneuver the conversation into a potential booked meeting. If you got value from this video, like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.